live here? Yes, I am live. Awesome. So this is totally random and unplanned. Um, I was having my time with the Lord this morning, and I felt like He spoke something to me that I wanted to share with people. And I haven't done this in so long, and especially something that doesn't actually involve worship. Um, And so I wanted to share just what the Lord was speaking to me this morning and kind of how it came about that I heard this thing. Um, so, like I said, I was having my time with God this morning, and I went on YouTube and had no real like aim or wasn't looking for anything, and this video came up of so Chandler Moore is the Maverick City music guy, so a lot of you guys might know him. And there's a video of him leading worship with Justin Bieber, and this was just from like a few days ago or something. And I put the link to the video in the description of this video so that y'all could check it out. But it's super powerful, it's amazing. But something that the Lord kind of spoke to me through that is that worship is a leveler of people. So I heard that phrase just recently in an episode of The Chosen, which, if you haven't watched it, it's awesome. It's this whole show based on what Jesus' ministry, based on what he did when he was here on earth as a human man. Anyways, in the show, he says that the Feast of Tabernacles is a leveler of people because everybody's outside. They're like outside eating, and so it levels everyone because no one has a better place to stay or place to eat. Everybody's outside, and that building that tabernacle was an act of worship. And then, as I said, I was watching that video this morning, and he spoke to me that worship is a leveler of people. That I think a lot of people, myself included, would look at somebody like Justin Bieber and be like, you know, he's better than me, or he needs Jesus more than me, or anything like that. Anything that would create a different level of being. And what the Lord was showing me was that worship puts us all at the same level. Like, no one's higher than anyone, no one's lower than anyone. Um, Justin Bieber doesn't need Jesus more than I do or than any of us do, nor do we need him more than he does. Like, we all are at the same level when we worship. We're all in that place of needing God to live, to breathe, to have our being. And I think that's such an important thing to remember when we worship, or even if worship is new to you, when you worship Jesus, that like you are no better and no worse than any other person on this earth. That you are equal as a son or daughter of God. That God isn't looking at you as better or worse. And so there are a few verses that I wanted to share that I also put in the description as well. And the first one is Matthew 2:2. And it's talking about when the three wise men came to visit Jesus when he was just born. So Matthew 2:2 says, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." And so that's like a big deal, because that's like a certain category of people that came to worship him, right? And they came to like a manger that was probably dirty and smelly and everything, but like the important thing was worshiping Jesus. And then the next one is John 4. So that's John 4:23-24. And this is the woman at the well. So it says, "But an hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For such people, the Father seeks to be his worshippers. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. And I feel like that just shows again that, like, we're equal. Like, worship is a leveler of people. Um, we all worship God from the same place of being saved and being healed and being delivered and all those things, but also no one needs him more or less than anybody else. We all come to him to worship. If we come to worship him in spirit and truth, like, that's all he wants. He's not looking for somebody better or worse or anything to worship him. We need to worship him in spirit and in truth, which could be a whole other teaching, I guess. The next verse is John 9:31. And so John 9:31 says, do I have the right one? Maybe I need my other Bible. So again, if you're just joining, I was just talking about what God showed me this morning about worship being a leveler of people, and that we're all sort of equal here. So yeah, John 9:31. Now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears him. Right? So once we are saved, we are no longer sinners. We are worshipers of God, and we're all equal under him. We're all brothers and sisters under him. Like, none of us is better or worse. And I just love that one because it just shows us, like, once we are saved, we are no longer sinners. We are viewed with what Jesus had. We are viewed like Jesus. Jesus gave us his righteousness and his perfection. It's nothing that we can do on our own. So again, John 9:31 says, now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears him. So if we are worshipers of God, nobody has God's ear more than anybody else. It is a leveler of people. Worship is a leveler of people. I just love that word that he gave me this morning. Again, like I said, I heard it first in the show The Chosen, which is such a great show. So if you haven't watched it yet, please do. But he was applying it to something sort of different for me this morning. The next verse, second to last one I have, is Hebrews 1:6. And Hebrews 1:6 says, and when he again brings the firstborn into the world, he says, let all the angels of God worship him. So there are a lot of differences between us and angels, but something that connects us with the angels is that we all worship him, that we all have this joy to get to worship the King together with the angels. That's what we have in common with the angels, which is just so cool to me. And the last one is Revelation 11. That's Revelation 11:16. Another one where we just shows our equality with everyone else who worships God. And so Revelation 11:16 says, and the 24 elders who sit on their thrones before God fell on their faces and worshipped God. So even the people who John saw in heaven, who were around the throne, even they worship God. We are no better and no worse than they are. Again, they have a different position, just like the angels have a different position than we do, but we all worship him. Nobody worships anyone else, or shouldn't at least, in the kingdom of heaven. We all worship Jesus. We all come to Jesus needing him, needing his presence and his direction and his place in our lives. And so again, just sort of wrapping it up and going back to the beginning where I started, that I saw this video this morning with Chandler Moore from Maverick City Music, and he was leading worship with Justin Bieber, and I was just like, wow, like Justin Bieber does not need Jesus more or less than I do, and not more or less than anybody else does. Like, we all need him. We all come to Jesus and worship him from the same place of needing him, and God does not value one of us more than the other. Even people who aren't saved yet, he still wants them to come into the kingdom, and he still values their lives and has a plan for them. Obviously it's up to them to choose him, but the point is that, like, God sees us as all needing him, as all coming from the same place. Just worship is a leveler of people. I can't say that enough. It's like hitting me so hard that um, that even as a worship leader, I've been a worship leader for years, and I feel like I've heard so many comments about how, there's a certain thing that I do or have as a worship leader. And while that may be true, we're gifted in different ways. I do not need him more or less than anybody else around me. It's just a certain gift that I've been given, and everybody's been given their specific gifts. And so I just think it's so important to remember, like, when you see somebody who either seems worse off or better off than you, like, we're all worshiping the King. We are all brothers and sisters. We are all equal in that way. Sort of a little story before I finish that I'll share. This was a few years back, and I remember watching a worship video. um, and it was one of my favorite worship leaders. I had never really had a favorite worship leader. And I remember watching her in this video leading worship, and this, like, out of nowhere, this thought came to my head of, wow, I wish God loved me as much as he loves her. And then immediately I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Where did that thought come from? I was like, okay, God, we need to work on this, right? But it's just such a picture of, I think, when we see somebody who's either famous or on a stage, or even like the opposite end of the spectrum, somebody who like needs a lot of help, or somebody who's in addiction, or somebody who's sick, or something like that, that we have these like levels, or inequality of who we are when we come to him. And it's just not true. That we are brothers and sisters, no matter where we are in our journey with Christ. We are brothers and sisters, and when we come to him in worship, we are coming to him as a family, and we are coming to him equal in his eyes. That again, worship is a leveler of people, and we come to him needing him the same amount, no one more or less. And so, anyways, I don't know why it's the Holy Spirit. Just knew I needed to share that this morning. Haven't really shared anything in a long time, but I hope that blessed you. And in the description, you can find the scripture references I used, my link to my YouTube channel, which I haven't added to in a really long time, but this will be up there, and then the link to the worship video that I referenced with Chandler Moore and Justin Bieber. So anyways, be blessed, and thanks for listening, and I'll see y'all soon.